Well, hello everyone. This is Dr. Ayleen, and this is Healing House Radio for those who are on Blog Talk. And this is Medicine Walk with Dr. Ayleen for those who are on YouTube. So, welcome. And I hope everyone's having a wonderful week. I hope everyone is doing well. It has been sort of a weird kind of week for me. As some of you know, and as probably most of you don't, I live in wonderful, beautiful Boulder Creek, California. And Boulder Creek has been making a lot of news because we're having a wildfire up there. And, there are a lot of people who have been affected by wildfires. And for those who, really are in a bad way and who have lost things and maybe have lost loved ones, know that my heart goes out to you. I am so touched by the outpouring of support and people who I don't know very well, and they just have been contacting me on Facebook and Twitter and through those avenues, and letting me know that they hope I'm safe and that they are thinking of me. So, first off, just thank you so much for all of you who are, just out there sending out good thoughts and good wishes for all of those of us who are affected by the wildfires. Second, huge, huge, huge gratitude and admiration and love for all of the firefighters who are out there, all of those who are out on the front lines. With our fire, it's about 6 miles as the crow flies from where I live. And the firefighters, while they were during the day, they would get the assistance of water drops from helicopters and aircraft. And when night came, the planes and the helicopters couldn't fly. So what they did was just get down there on the front lines with hoses and bulldozers and shovels and axes and all of that, working through the night, placing themselves at risk to protect us. So absolute, complete love and admiration for all of you who are out there doing that, and for your loved ones, because I know it must be really hard to have someone you love go off to work and know that they're going into a dangerous situation. So, blessings to you. And I personally appreciate your willingness to support them in what they do. So just absolute love for that. And it was interesting because when the fire broke out, those in the immediate area, it was a house fire that got the vegetation started. And so the people who were right there, they didn't have much time. If they didn't already have bags set up and things set up to be able to, head out at a moment's notice, they just had to throw together what they could throw together within minutes and evacuate and get out and be willing to accept that what they left behind might not be there anymore. And so because my area, we weren't a part of the evacuation order. We were just told, it's like, okay, well, you'll probably be okay, and make sure that you have a what's called a bug out bag. And for those of you who don't know that term, pretty much now it's mostly used for a bag that contains enough stuff for you to survive for 3 days, or at least 3 days. And it's like you just grab it, throw it in the car if you've got to get out. And for me, it was just like, okay, spare reading glasses, stuff for my pets. And, so I had time to be able to figure out, and I have the adorable little Ford Focus, which does not afford a lot of space. And so as I was, watching the news reports, because I mean, with a fire, you never know if it's gonna, suddenly the wind shifts and you've got a problem in a different area. So I figure, okay, I got to gather together the things that I absolutely don't want to lose. And it was interesting because as I stood there and looked around my little cabin at the things that I had, and knowing I only had so much space, and part of the space had to go for, my dog and my cat. So it was an interesting process to figure out what was it that I would be willing to never see again. And so I wanted to talk about that today because that was like a really powerful moment when I had to figure, okay, worst case scenario, there are certain things that I cannot save. And for the important things, I mean, I had my box that has, my paperwork in it, birth certificates, identification, passport, all those little vital things, a copy of a handwritten copy of all of the most important phone numbers for me. And that's a good thing to have, because one of the main things that when people evacuated, one of the main things that they were saying that they forgot were rechargers. So if I have to leave and, somehow I don't grab a recharger and all my numbers are on my cell phone, it's like, okay, now I've got to get a recharger and be able to manage that differently. But just to have a handwritten copy of all the most important phone numbers that I have. And the box also contained my rechargers. But, in thinking about the other things, what books were the most important to me? What was it that I wanted to make sure I saved? And we have Monica. Hi, Monica, in the chat. So happy to see that you're well. A blessing for you to continue assisting others. Thank you so much, Monica. And I appreciate your well wishes and all of your spiritual and energetic support. Like I said, I felt so blessed to have so many people contact me and not just say, well, we hope you're going to be all right, we're praying for you, but people who were offering their homes for me and my dog and my cat. And that just meant so much to me. And so, the idea of what is it that you don't want to give up? What is it that you truly feel that would be on that short list of things that you want to save? And honestly, it doesn't have to make huge sense. There may be something that is just that special to you. And when you're in a moment, and for those of you who live in areas where stuff could happen, which pretty much I guess is all of us, where something could happen where you have to leave in a moment's notice, it's always good to have a box with copies of your most important documents and copies of, things like birth certificates and numbers and stuff like that. But once you have that set aside, once you have that figured out, maybe set up a bag. Somebody told me a long time ago to go to like a thrift store and just buy some clothes like socks and pants and all of that stuff and keep them in a backpack. And just have them there. You don't take them out. You don't use them. An extra pair of shoes. And that way, if you have to leave suddenly, you've got spare clothes that are right there that you don't have to worry about going and sorting through. That's a good thing to have. And, just those things. I have a harp, and it stands like about, 3 feet high, and it's about 3 feet long, or, lengthwise, I guess. And I've had that harp for a very, very, very long time, a little over half my lifetime. And the idea of, I looked at it and it's like, no, I have to take this. I have to, this has to go with me. It would break my heart. There was a teapot that my mother had left me, and that had to go. And the rest of it, I started thinking about, photographs and things like that. And there's like a little album of some photographs, like the older family pictures. But some of them, it was just like, you know what, if I have to choose between this and something else, I will choose, I can choose something else. I can be able to let this go. And looking at, I have an altar at home. It's like, okay, which items do I definitely want to put in the box from my altar? And it actually became interesting because I realized I wasn't as attached to a lot of things as I thought I would be. And, old books. And it's like, well, you know what? I'm not that attached to that. I'm not going, I'm not going to go out of the way. Maybe if it was a book that was given to me by someone and it had special significance for me, then I would say, okay, that I would take because of its sentimental value. But, when I started thinking, wow, I may have to leave on very short notice. This was like the day after the fire started, and they had zero containment, and they were concerned about the wind changing and blowing it towards the main part of town. And I just started thinking, wow, okay, what is it that I can live without? And it really had me, thinking about the things that were most important to me. And I started thinking afterwards, it's like, I could thin down a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of this stuff that I don't use. There's a lot of this stuff that I just have because I have it. And when I moved from like a 3-bedroom house down to a 1-bedroom cabin, there was a lot that I ended up getting rid of. And I realized that, you know what, there's more. There's more that I could let go of, and I don't have to let it go to a fire. I can donate. I've got, books that, would be able to be donated, or, you know, clothes that I can donate. And when I looked at all the things that I had, I realized, you know what, I could simplify my life more. I could have less. I mean, the two most important things: one, my dog Sam, and two, my cat Luna. And knowing that if I left that house with nothing but them, I would still feel blessed. I would still feel like, you know what, it may be a pain in the neck, technically could be replaced, even my beloved harp. And it was kind of liberating in a way to be able to come to that decision. Now, something else about a bug out kit or a bug out bag, it's not always about things. I started thinking about, the emotional bug out bag. What or who in your life do you count on so much that if there was an emergency, if something came down, they would be the ones you would reach out to? Because it's about preparedness. It's about having the things in place in order to support yourself. Now, if you're going through something really hard, and if you are, I'm so sorry, and I wish you the best of luck. And if there's anything that I can do, please, there's lots of ways to contact me. We all need that core support group. We all need those in case of emergency folks. And one person may be your in case of emergency that I have to leave my home. This is someone who I know that I can couch surf with, or, I can be able to stay with. Your man, I'm just having a really, really tough day, and I'm really on edge. This is the person that, is your person to talk to, who can always make you laugh, and who can be there to kind of talk you down. And, that person who always gives you that advice that is excellent advice, even though half the time you don't like hearing it. That's an important person to have in your emotional, your spiritual bug out kit. And the idea of having that person who is just that mentor for you, somebody whose advice that, you respect so much, and who has always been, telling you things straight, but is sort of like a teacher figure, or maybe a parental figure. Someone who's maybe an elder, who is that person who always is able to, they've had enough life experience that they can put things into perspective, and you trust that. So, and these times are just rife with traumatizing events, whether it's I mean, the day that the fire, we found out about it, it was like the night before, but the day that we got the news about the fire that morning, it was the 30th anniversary of the Loma Prieta earthquake. And for those of you who were in California, um, yeah, that was big. I remember where I was at. I remembered what I was doing. I remember that I was just pulling up outside of my parents' house, and my youngest son was about 6 months old, and my oldest son was almost 2. And so, I mean, they were little, they were in their car seat. And I remember pulling up in front of my parents' house, and there's like a light pole, or yeah, a light pole right in front of it. And I noticed that all of a sudden I felt the movement, and it's like, oh, we're having an earthquake. But then it kept going and going. And it was one of the rolling ones. And I could actually look and see the roll on the moving up the street. And the light pole was moving. And I thought, oh, this is serious. This is like a major thing. And I remembered that, we were living in a mobile home at the time, which it's like, great, I'm in an earthquake and I've got a house with a seam down the middle. But, I knew that I had to go and check on it. And I, fortunately, being at my parents' house, I was able to take the kids in, and all the power went off. And, I took the kids in and told my mom and dad, it's like, look, keep the kids here. I need to find out what happened at home. And at the time, my husband was he was away, he was out of the country. And I remember my father looking at me and saying, you can't do that. And I looked at him and I said, look, I'm the only one here. Right now, I'm the head of my family. And right now, I need to know what's happening. So he went with me. And fortunately, my home had actually fared very well. And, in fact, we had power back on like that. But, a lot of people, didn't do very well with that. And in fact, some people were just so devastated. They lost everything. And it was such a difficult time, but it was one of those where in an instant, okay, how do I manage and how do I take care of my family now that this event has happened? And where we were at, it wasn't that affected, but there were a lot of people, as I said, who were, and who are still recovering from even 30 years later. That can still be a very traumatizing thing for some people. And these are very, very challenging times. And, with the fires and the floods and hurricanes and all of that, it's a time that, really can bring out the best in all of us when we can depend on each other. I mean, up on the mountain, it was just amazing how people, the people who were fine and, whose homes weren't at risk, were opening their doors to their neighbors and saying, hey, you can come and stay with me. Hey, we've got clothes for you. Hey, we've got food for you. Don't worry about it. And that idea that, community can take care of each other. And I think that that is just so wonderful to be able to have that. And it's important to develop community. It's important to know who your neighbors are. It's important to know if there's an elder down the street that may be living by themselves. Or maybe you are the elder down the street, and it'd be good to know that you have somebody else that can support you. Through these trying times, we can make it. We can survive. We can do what we need to do in order to take care of ourselves, and then trust that the universe will take care of the rest. And at those points when, things go really bad and there's loss of life and there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of concern, reach out. Even if you weren't physically damaged by something like this, it's possible that it can emotionally damage you. I mean, when things happen, it's difficult to say what can trigger a person. And it's hard when somebody wants to talk about it and, it's like, well, you weren't hurt or you weren't this, when those horrible shootings in Las Vegas. And people were really traumatized by it. And yet, in many ways, they felt that they couldn't express their trauma because, well, I wasn't there and I wasn't this, and, but it's not in your head. Trauma is trauma. You can be traumatized just by witnessing something. If you're somebody who's very sensitive, who has a lot of empathy, yes, it is as if it happened to you. Do not devalue what it is that you're going through, because there's a lot to go through right now. And there are a lot of people who are still struggling. Our fire is, as of this morning, it was 30% contained. And in Napa and in those areas where, they're still fighting it. And, there are different parts of the country where there have been fires and hurricanes and all of that stuff. And yeah, seeing about it in the news, watching it in the news, experiencing it and witnessing it, there's a feeling of helplessness that can happen. And that helplessness can lead to, feelings of insecurity. And you're going to be okay. You're going to be all right. Get the support you need. And if one person doesn't support you well, don't take that as a reason why you don't ask for support. Reach out. Find the people who are going to say, hey, you know what? We're going to be all right. What do you need? Here's some soup. Here's a blanket around your shoulders. You need somebody to hug you while, you let out some of that energy within you. That's okay. Those are the people that you need in your energetic, emotional bug out sack. Because those are the people that when you do have to have those big changes in your life, if you do end up having these big experiences, that way you've already got your support system in place. And the really great part is you're a part of their support system. If somebody calls you up and says, you know what, I was watching the news about the fire and it made me remember something from my childhood and I'm really not in a good space, because stuff like this can also trigger memories of experiences, and the person will relive it as if it's that day. If you're having a problem, if you're having an emotional problem, if with a lot of the things that are going on, overwhelming, get help, talk to someone, reach out, and keep reaching out until somebody answers. And there's lots of groups, there's lots of support groups for different types of trauma. Seek them out. We have the internet, which is the collective knowledge of the planet so far, pretty much. So find those places that would be a support system for you, because you don't have to go through trauma alone. You don't have to go through anything alone. We're not meant to go through things alone. Whatever your spiritual practice is, if you have a particular belief system, go to that. And also seek support, seek someone who will hold your hand, someone who will hold you while you talk through some of the things that you're going through. If you need professional help with that, there are ways to get professional help. It's not that you're, it's not about, a lot of people think, no, I've got to suck it up. The other people need me. They need you to be able to be authentic. They need you to be able to support. And the only way you can do that is by being supported. And don't ever, ever, ever think that what you're going through isn't worth time or isn't worth attention. Don't put what you need after everyone else. Yeah, there are a lot of ways to help. There's a lot of opportunities to go out there and do things for other people, but make sure you're doing stuff for yourself. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. There's a lot of stuff that can throw us off and change our life like that. The thing is that in order to have this wonderful, amazing life that is possible, part of it is knowing when to reach out, knowing when to back off and say, you know what, I can't help right at this moment because I got this thing that I need to work out for me. And then I can be back and take care of you. Because that's what we do for each other. We take care of each other. We are there for each other. I am here talking technically to my computer or technically to a webcam, which I got a new one. Yay. So hopefully, I think that it's probably doing a lot better. But and that whatever you're going through ends up being something that helps you, if nothing else, realize that you were stronger than you ever thought you could possibly be. That maybe you're braver than you ever thought you could possibly be. There's so much more to you than what you know of. There's so much more to each of us than what we know of. So don't worry. Hang in there. You know, help where you can and ask for help when you need to. So thank you. Let's see. My camera, there we go. For a second, it blinked out. So thank you. Again, thank you for all your well wishes. Thank you for your concern, and know that I feel it for you as well. And you're going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. So thank you for joining me. And for those of you who are listening on Blog Talk Radio, you can watch the broadcast on YouTube, and you can go to Medicine Walk with Dr. Ayleen. You can also reach me on Facebook. You can reach our Facebook group, Medicine Walk with Dr. Ayleen. And you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Pinterest and LinkedIn, and all of those things. So there's lots of ways to reach me. And if you enjoyed this video, which I hope you did, I hope you got something out of it, including make your bug out bag. You can like, you can subscribe. It's always cool to watch more people subscribe. And you can comment. I do answer, I check the comments, and I do answer them. And you can share. If you think that maybe somebody's going through something, that something I've said might resonate with them, please consider sharing it. So I hope that everyone is safe. I hope that everyone is taking good care of themselves. I hope that everyone is appreciating the amazing gift that each and every day is, because we can find so much in each and every moment that we have that is so very precious. And keep that in mind when things get rough, that there's always an opportunity to be able to start over again, to be able to embrace joy and faith and excitement and adventure and all of that stuff, and all of those wonderful things that we can not only help others experience and support them in that, but that we can experience for ourselves. And be safe. And oh, one of the things that went on was like there was a drone. Somebody was flying a drone. I guess maybe they wanted to get pictures of the forest fire. If a drone is sighted, they take down the aircraft that is doing the water drops. They cannot fly if there's a drone present. So please, please, please do not fly a drone or anything like that when there are emergency situations going on, especially if there's any aircraft involved, if there is if the helicopters are flying or if planes are flying and dropping water. Please, please do not send up a drone in those areas. You may want to take a great look, but if those aircraft have to stop doing what they're doing in order to, comply with safety, then what you may be getting a picture of is your own house going up because the aircraft couldn't be there to dump water and to help everyone, to help our firefighters. So Good point. Anyway, thank you. And as always, I wish you balance and I wish you blessings from my heart to yours. I love you. Bye.